One of the main foci of this week's Parshat BeHar, is the Shemitah cycle, where every 7th year, on the 7th year, God says, you can't plow your field, you can't harvest your field. So the question this begs is, how exactly are we going to provide food for our families? How are we going to provide food for ourselves, for everyone? So God gives us a promise. It says, "V'tziviti et birchati lachem b'shana hashishit v'asat et hatzvua shalosh shanim." God says, I'm going to give you a promise, and that is that on the 6th year, I'm going to give you guys such a big harvest that it'll last through the 6th year, the 7th year, and into the 8th year. So this requires a tremendous amount of faith, a tremendous amount of bitachon. So I decided, you know what, if this is a pretty good theory, say God, you do all of it, and then, good things will happen. So I decided I'll apply this to my own life. So in 12th grade, I was taking a class called AP Calculus. And as the AP test was approaching, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to study for the AP test. I'm going to dive in a little bit and say, God, it's up to you. This is 100% your thing. So what happened? I got my test scores back a couple months later, and they weren't very good. And I couldn't do anything about it. So the question is, where did I go wrong? I said, God, you take it. God, take the wheel. Where did I go wrong? So I think that we can find our answer in Sefer Bereshis, where we have a story where Yaakov is being forced out of his house and moving to Paran, where Laban is. And we see that when Yaakov arrives in Paran, he asks himself, he realizes that he's missed in a very important stop along the way. He's missed stopping in Yerushalayim so he could daven to Hashem on Har Moriah, just like Avram and Yitzchak did. So, what does he do? He decides he's going to pick up and go back. So, according to Rashi's interpretation, he starts to go back, and as soon as he arrives in Beit El, which is a city halfway between each point, God picks up Har HaMoriah, moves it to Beit El, plants it down, and then we have the story of Yaakov's dream. So, what do we learn from this? So I think the lesson we take out of this is that in order for God to perform His miracles, we have to put in our work. We have to say, okay, I'm going to do my ishtadlus, and then God is going to do the rest, leave it up to Him. So that's to say that God doesn't just say, I'm going to give you food in the 6th, 7th, and 8th year. He says, you plow your field in the 6th year, and then I'll provide for you in the 7th and 8th as well. You have to put in your work, you have to sweat just like you do every other year, and then I'm going to give you what you need. So I think the way that we can apply this to the lives is, asking ourselves the question, where does our strength come from? So we obviously need to put in what we can do. We need to do our best. We need to try our hardest. But in the end of the day, it's up to God. And if God says, I'm going to give you the 6th, 7th, and 8th year, then God will give us the 6th, 7th, and 8th year, and we will succeed not only normally, but we will succeed more masterfully than we ever have before. That's what we can learn from Parshat BeHar. Have a good Shabbos.